Twisted Metal Season 2 is here. Welcome back to JBuck Studios. I'm your host, Jared, and we're going to be diving into all of the Easter eggs, references, and other small things that you probably maybe missed in Twisted Metal Season 2, Episodes 1, 2, and 3. So hit that turbo, and let's boogie.
Alright, it's time to measure our ticks.
Things start with a flashback to 1998, roughly 4 years before the world's power is mysteriously turned off, as we get a bit more backstory on Raven from Season 1, introducing her then best friend and probably girlfriend, Kelly. The two burn rubber in an old station wagon, similar to the family wagon from Twisted Metal 4, later showing up as an appearance as a Warthog in Twisted Metal Black, and then the 2012 reboot. Raven shows Kelly her tarot deck, brandishing the 10 of Swords. Unfortunately, Raven is completely wrong about better days on the horizon because the 10 of Swords actually means hitting rock bottom, as this foreshadows Kelly's fate at the end of this flashback, drowning in the pool. This is pulling from Raven's original origin story in Twisted Metal Black, with that also having Kelly meeting her fate via drowning, but rather than it being a freak accident, Twisted Metal Black has two jocks bullying Kelly, her pleading that she can't swim, as they toss her off a pier anyway. So quickly we can tell that Raven wants John Doe to drive for her, resurrecting Kelly, as Calypso is teased with the Devil Tarot card, Black Rad, and the guy having ill intentions. Back to present day, which is actually 7 months after the events of Season 1, and we have a different actress playing Raven. Neve Campbell is out, and Patty Guggenheim is in, as you may remember her as She-Hulk's Madison.
Ew.
It seems like she may have a bunch of decoys or a whole gaggle of Ravens as John Doe trains up on a super fast racing arcade machine, poking fun at some of the original proposed names for Twisted Metal, like Urban Assault, Cars and Rockets, and High Octane, before ultimately landing on Twisted Metal. Weirdly, this is a self-aware world within a world kinda, because Gran Turismo along with Twisted Metal 2 exist. John Doe continues his pizza delivering career, another nod to the suggested idea to have the original game be a pizza delivery simulator, until David Jaffe, one of the original game developers, pushed for the more violent car combat idea, ultimately winning out. Now, Raven threatens John with a voodoo doll, a reference to her winning the tournament in Twisted Metal Black, receiving 2 voodoo dolls as a prize, used to then torment the 2 jocks that caused Kelly's drowning. This first episode is basically a catch-up to all of our characters from Season 1, as Quiet is now fully immersed in the Dollface clan, taking inspiration from Twisted Metal 2012, with one of the 3, maybe 4 selectable factions being Dollface. They are basically the Robin Hoods of the divided states of America, raiding what they thought was a medical or medicine operation, but turns out to be a large order for Diddy.
Then what's all this? Lube.
Now, Dollface, her character, her lore, I think fans of the games are not going to be too thrilled, because here she's just John's sister and somehow adopted the Dollface persona, whereas the 2012 reboot had her as a beautiful but extremely vain supermodel who was tricked into having her mask sealed on her face. Now, I'm curious what sort of backstory we'll get with this version of Dollface, because there's absolutely no inkling that she's a supermodel. Though they keep her name as Krista, not to be confused with Krista, aka Grasshopper from Twisted Metal 2. Shifting over again, we have Sweet Tooth and Stu traveling the country searching for the most notorious killers, with Sweet Tooth wanting that designation. It seems that Mike, Stu's buddy, the pair being the hammerhead monster truck drivers from Twisted Metal 2, did not survive Sweet Tooth's attack in the Season 1 post-credit scene. Now, Sweet Tooth's mask is an upgrade from Season 1, having this baseball X over the eye that Stu shot out. I mean, this little change, I like these little tiny details. Anyway, in their attempt to become top killer in the wasteland, they track down Big Baby, who is a new character to the series, and I instantly was repulsed, grossed out. I've seen some and this was just too much for me. Don't try to 3D vision that. But no sense in crying over spilt milk, because another killer is mentioned, the Trash Man.
I'm the Trash Man.
This was a character introduced in Twisted Metal 4, a garbage man who, funny enough, looked like a big old baby. Hopefully we'll actually see him, but if anything, we know that he exists in this world. This leads Stu to coming up with a great idea to just host their own tournament, so the killers will come to them. Now, it's a short-lived plan, obviously, but fans of the franchise should be able to pick it up that this is the initial setup to Twisted Metal 4. Sweet Tooth was the head of the Twisted Metal tournament instead of Calypso, and some of the drivers from that game are actually teased here on this board, like Orbital and Drag Queen's Hot Rodder vehicle. John is bored as all, reading through the whole series of Babysitter's Club books, finding a diary with a hand-drawn map. These pictures are nods to various levels from Twisted Metal Black in the franchise, the Ferris wheel belonging to the Suburbs level, the drive-in being Millennium Drive-In, which later appears in Episode 3, and the sewers a multiplayer map. Figuring he can just use the sewers to escape, John tricks Raven and the guards, strolling by the same station wagon Raven was driving in 1998, followed by the unveiling of a souped-up 1997 Ford Probe GT. We can assume that this is what Raven enters the tournament with, so anyone hoping for the Shadow Hearse to make an appearance, you're out of luck.
No! God, please, no!
John finds an ambulance to sneak out of New San Francisco with, despite learning Raven's Kelly is in a comatose state on life support in the back of it. So yeah, no doubt Raven's wish, if she wins the tournament, will be to have Kelly back in good health. The ambulance is also a nod to the Meat Wagon vehicle added in the 2012 reboot, which, funny enough, featured a special weapon that launched terminally ill patients strapped with TNT on a rocket-propelled gurney. The ambulance sports the license plate Satan Spawn, being the same license plate as Darkseid from the original Twisted Metal game. However, the entire setup for Season 2 has got to be Calypso making his first on-screen appearance, inviting the best racers from the divided states of America to compete for the chance to win one single wish. Really, anything you can imagine. This follows the lore of many of the games in its most simplest form, but Calypso has kind of been on a spectrum of chaotic evil to goofy silly, and I think Anthony Carrigan's portrayal will be funny and weird. I'm curious to see more of this guy and really think he'll add a nice unhinged vibe to this interpretation. In the games, Calypso was like an evil, devil-like entity who created the tournament and would grant the winner a wish. But it's usually a monkey paws situation where the wishes are twisted into something truly sinister. With Calypso randomly turning on the world's electricity, it's heavily implied that he was behind the whole world collapsing back in 2002 in Season 1. As his invitation is broadcast, there's cameos from Vermin, played by Lisa Gilroy, despite her vehicle looking more like the Roach Coach from Twisted Metal 4, along with potential newcomers to the franchise, some sort of Wasteland Knights. I'm not sure who these guys are. We'll probably see more of them. The location of the tournament is given in longitude and latitude coordinates, and when doing a little bit of enhancing,
Enhance.
we learn that the starting location for the Twisted Metal tournament will be Indianapolis, Indiana, aka the Crossroads of America. Learning this, John hits the road in the stolen ambulance, only to be confronted by Raven's goons and the Dollface clan. Channeling a 90s hip-hop version of Mad Max Fury Road, the truck is carrying some small dune buggies that look similar to Pit Viper or Grasshopper, as the big rig weirdly has the same license plate of Satan Spawn as the ambulance literally has, with this supposedly being Darkseid despite it having a little bit more of the flair of the Juggernaut. I guess it's only fitting because in the 2012 reboot, the Juggernaut is unlocked after beating Dollface's 4th story event. So, yeah, the more you know. The dolls incapacitate Raven's goons with what looks like an orange fire missile and a purple homing missile from their respective smoke trails, and flip John's ambulance with a power missile featuring the red smoke trail. We learn John's real name is Lionel, which has no real ties to any of the previous Twisted Metal lore, and the end of Episode 1. Episode 2 kicks off with a 10-year flashback showing how Krista, aka Dollface, essentially came to power. Weirdly, the license plate of the vehicle that they come up to later appears in episode 3 when Krista and John are dealing with Axel. More than likely a production error. Back to present day though, as the episode purely focuses on the dolls and John reconnecting with Quiet, his sister, and his old car Roadkill, as he throws on a new vest, mirroring his milkman outfit from season 1. Quiet confronts a young, strange woman who she's never really seen around the dolls, trying to steal one of their little buggies. This is Sailor Bell Curta, and according to the cast list, she's playing a new character called Mayhem, or at least maybe her vehicle will be called Mayhem. Right now, she's kind of an enigma, but having played Twisted Metal 2, I am theorizing that this could be the original Krista Sparks, aka Grasshopper. She has a similar young appearance, especially with her going for the green grasshopper-looking vehicle. Now, if this is the case, a potential spoiler here, this could make her Calypso's daughter.
What a twist!
When she was younger, she and her father Calypso were in a car accident, believing both had perished in the accident without knowing either were alive. In winning the tournament, Krista and Calypso are reunited, but not without a snag.
In the car crash that almost killed me, you're alive! Property of the LAPD.
I'm sorry, Father. They rebuilt me after the accident. They knew I could get close enough to you. They want to put a stop to all the violence you caused with your contest. Hold me, Daddy. I'm just a machine now, but I'm scared the explosion will hurt.
It's all speculation right now, so we'll have to see how much of the original lore that they actually lean on. Either way, she mentions that she had a relationship with a guy named Gene, which could be Gene Ruddish, aka the Ladies' Man, as both appear as drivers in Twisted Metal Head On. With Calypso announcing the tournament, the dolls have a race-off to see who will represent them in the tournament. Now, I'm digging that there are much more car shenanigans in Season 2. I just really want them to get into the tournament, this thing start up. They gotta stop edging me. Anyway, the doll race involves paintball obstructions, which weirdly is a nod to the canceled Small Brawl spin-off first-person shooter game, Paint Brawl, also known as Small Brawl Shooter. It was exactly that, the cast of Twisted Metal Small Brawl shooting one another with paint. I mean, man, Splatoon, you never would have stood a chance. Absolute chef's kiss, to the turbo button being a green PlayStation-style triangle, just like the games. The episode ends with a return to Blackfield Asylum, first making an appearance in Season 1, and was the main starting area in Twisted Metal Black. Now, I'm a little confused because I had assumed that it was abandoned after seeing its introduction in Season 1. Either way, enter a huge fan-favorite character, Mr. Grimm. One part supernatural soul collector and another part delusional crazy person, depending on the lore and how the series is going to spin the character, as he's basically Venom. He's going crazy, talking to himself as we.
Yes. We will.
The opening of episode 3 gives us a better idea of Grimm's lore, digging up his father's, Bud Captain Grimm's, motorcycle and feeding off the souls Dementor style. This appears to be a combination of previously established lore. Firstly, Mr. Grimm is leaning towards actually being the Grim Reaper with an insatiable appetite for souls, while keeping it unclear because he could just straight up be cuckoo bananas. I mean, Quiet and Mayhem see Grimm just being a weird guy practicing his cunnilingus skills.
What is he doing?
On the other hand, the nod to his father is pulling from Twisted Metal 2012, where Grimm's father was a daredevil who met his fate too early, motivating Grimm to win the Twisted Metal tournament so he could go back in time to save his father from performing the stunt that ultimately killed him. Believe me, the lore of this franchise and all of these individual games is all over the place, but so far, I like what they're doing with Grim. His skull helmet and him fighting with an actual Grim Reaper scythe is also like super badass. It's 3 days until the tournament, as this episode is more of an intimate brother-sister catch-up over the last 20 years type of vibe, as John and Krista head to the Millennium Drive-In, a place they venture to as children. This is also a level in Twisted Metal Black, and did you see the movie that they're showing, Grim's Dark Trip Back, a nod to Grim making his glorious return. Krista tries to get John to remember anything about their childhood, heavily leaning into the roadkill amnesia story from the games, as they are interrupted by another crowd favorite, Axel. This big ol' wheelie man is probably the craziest vehicle from the entire franchise, and I'm so happy he is present here in Season 2. Heck, for a television streaming series, the special effects of this dude look surprisingly good. Again, like Mr. Grimm's lore, Axel's may be a mix of a few different things. Firstly, the shot of him is directly from the Twisted Metal 2 box art, and his design leans more into the lore of Twisted Metal head-on. This is supposedly continuing from the lore of Twisted Metal 2, where Axel confronts his father for putting him in this sadistic machine, wins the tournament, escaping his vehicle by ripping his arms off. Now fast forward 10 years. Axel, feeling as though he's lost part of himself, visits an experimental doctor named Dr. Zemo, who's the same little doctor man here who perishes at the end of the episode, and receives cybernetic hands in exchange for his winning wish. But of course, there's a small hiccup.
It was a mistake for me to compete, and it would be a mistake to let Twisted Metal continue.
What?
I want to remove violence from the world.
I think you've misspoken.
I'm sorry, but I
Don't do it!
wish
Final warning!
for pizza!
Pizza? Pizza. Your wish for pizza is granted.
No! Let me out of this thing!
Now, perhaps I'll consider releasing you after you win next year's Twisted Metal. You want a slice?
This explains his metal hand design, which obviously works much better visually for a television series. I can tell the showrunners are truly fans because this is some deep lore from the franchise. With Axel more than likely joining the tournament and Dr. Zemo out of the picture now, I'm curious if his winning wish will be to rid the world of violence, so we'll have to see. Either way, Axel is sick, and I love that they got the budget to get this big ol' wheelie man in here. While John and Krista and Axel party it up, Quiet is trying to teach Mayhem how to drive because, surprise, surprise, she cannot drive. Not gonna make a joke here, people, despite wanting to join the tournament. During her training, though, Quiet mentions Holy Men, a nod to the preacher from last season, and one of the clans you can choose in Twisted Metal 2012. As things come to a close with a tease of Diesel City, a major level in Twisted Metal 2012, and special weapons in next week's episode. I'm weirdly excited to have Twisted Metal back. It feels very 90s with its sense of humor and kick-ass needle drops. Is it the best show out there? Is it the best acting? Is it the best writing? Not necessarily, but as a fan of the franchise, my inner 8-year-old self could not be happier seeing some of these characters enter the tournament. I only dreamt of this. High hopes that the series gets us right into the vehicular combat because I gotta see everyone's special moves. And with the name drop of Diesel City and special moves, I am praying that they stick with the games that give John his roadkill boomerangs. I want weird, I want wild, I want out there, especially with that big baby guy. They're definitely nailing the weird. Drop all of your thoughts on Twisted Metal Season 2, Episodes 1 through 3 in the comments. I want to hear from all the OG fans of Twisted Metal and what were, some of the moments that you were most hyped during these first 3 episodes. Feel free to subscribe and like, as it really helps the channel. And of course, if you spotted any other Easter eggs or references, drop them in the comments. I want to hear everything. That's everything. We'll see you next week with episodes 4 and 5 in our breakdown here. Peace!